let's try one more time and see if it saves, because the first time I didn't save it. So my thoughts concerning Pentecostalism when I was younger, I've seen, if you get into like once saved, always saved, apostatizing, and backsliding from the faith, those are problematic in a sense, and it comes down to whether or not you believe the how soteriology works, and that's based on the person. Um, I can see that some, like Calvinism and Arminianism, is all based on the individual. Arminius was he didn't like the Synod of Dort, which is what the Calvinist position was. They clarified what the Calvinist position was, and the Protestant scholasticism and Pentecostals are not for that. And of course, if you read Matthew 13, another allegory he set before them, saying, the kingdom of the heavens is likened to a man sowing good seed in his field. And while men are sleeping, his enemy came and sowed darnel in the midst of the wheat, and went away. And when the herb sprang up and yielded fruit, then appeared also the darnel. And the servants of the householder, having come near, said to him, Lord, did you not sow good seed in your field? From where then does it have the darnel? And he says, a man, an enemy, did this. The servant said to him, will you then, having gone away, we may gather it up? And he said, no. As gathering up the darnel, you root up with it the wheat. Permit both to grow together until the harvest. Then I will say to the reapers, gather up first the darnel, and bind it in bundles to burn it, and the wheat gather up into my storehouse. So if you take the context of the allegories of the seed in the field, the allegory of the what I just read, the sower, um, the allegory of the darnel in the field, the allegory of the sower is the first one, allegory of the darnel, and this is in the Gospel of Matthew. Allegory of the mustard seed, the allegory of the leaven, and the explanations concerning those allegory of the darnel and the allegory of the darnel. And the disciples actually believe they ask him about that as well. They do in verse Matthew 13:36. And then the pearl of great price, the allegory of the pearl of great price, and the allegory of the field, treasure hidden in the field, and then the allegory of the fishermen, the baskets. Those are based on, when you're born, the mind, Yahweh, hell, and destruction are before Yahweh's, how much more the hearts of the children of men. So men have different hearts, and the Lord, will judge us with everything we think or everything we do. We also know that we're predetermined and we're foreordained. As Christians, we're foreordained. So no matter what denomination you are, sticking with Pentecostals, they're foreordained to do good works for the Lord. And since He, Yahweh, is the one who cleanses us from all sin and saves us, and the Arminian position says that we must have an active part as well, and then that gets into um, the question of God chooses some to destroy for destruction, God chooses others uh, to honor because of what we chose and what we haven't chose. It's deep waters, and of course, and having scholarly knowledge will help over time. Not everybody wants to have scholarly knowledge, but so coming down to that, Pentecostalism, we associate it with charismatics, but they're not the same. As I've done a lot of research on them together, even at the same time. There's different sects of Pentecostalism as well as charismatism. Um, I'm mentioning charismatism. That's another topic I can get into. And Pentecostals, I've seen over the years, especially at my time at college, I met a oneness Pentecostal, and he was, um, I found it to be very, he was he had a charismatic personality more so. He's still Pentecostal, and Pentecostals are known to have that charisma that people are appealed to a certain amount, and that's a good thing. Um, and and I also know he's a modalist, or oneness Pentecostals are modalists, which means that God takes forms and that Jesus is one person, and there are aspects of what Jesus is one person. That he takes modes and not it's not all at once, all at one Trinity as a Trinitarian Pentecostal as I once was. Um, Foresaw that, and then I think one more and speaking in tongues. I believe they still go on. Again, scholarly knowledge will be up my sleeve if the Lord will, or if He wants me to keep speaking and reading the Word in particular, rather than going and reading a bunch of articles about, continuationism and cessationism. That's the topic of speaking in tongues. Uh, I witnessed it when I was younger. I've seen it before in my children's youth past, in my children's pastor when I was young. I was in her services. I was in children's church and she did. I can't recall anybody else except my children's pastor um, who served at that time, and I believe still does. Um, yeah, and Steve Lawson, who's a pastor, a professor of preaching, who's well known. He mentions that speaking in tongues and the spiritual things, spiritual gifts, are baby food. And we're above that, and God has given us the written word. And of course, more research, whatever comes after, could be done, or I could just read the word and see for myself what would happen, what will happen in my life that the Lord will. I don't particularly find it to be, may not be baby food. It could be baby food. It doesn't have to be baby food. And each person has their own knowledge, and I believe Pentecostalism is good in the sense that it's glorified the poor, the people who are in prisons. I'd say people who are drug addicts, and they become believers. And of course that's probably in the same, could be in the same with Baptists as well. um, it's just more prominent in the, you know, because giving a story, my dad was younger. If I believe I remember it. If I don't remember it, I don't remember it. If I do remember it, I remember it. We had my dad supposedly said a word, and there was a gal who was healed of her leukemia. He may not completely bought into that he was the spirit of the Lord in him, was doing that through him to glorify himself, and also to uh, use my father, who was uh, not the most intelligent. Pentecostals wouldn't be the most intellectual people, and that's okay because are the most intelligent, and that's fine because that's what I embrace. That's what I believe I embrace about Pentecostalism, and I would like to embrace in my life if the Lord wills later. You know, um, I'd see further works or the same works if the Lord doesn't take away some of them from us. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. Something could come after with me, maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? See you later. Bye.